What's up, people? Just a little bit of an update. Thank you for stopping by. Do me a favor as you are here. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit me up with those things, man. If it's your first time checking me out, welcome. Just once a week, I like to either go over something that's been sort of simmering in the news a little bit. Previously, I did a video on the Robert Brooks situation. All right, let me turn this down so that you guys can hear me as we get into this very serious situation. And this is a situation, there's a lot going on in the news. This is some of what I want to do when something is introduced, and I want to go back and do any little update or anything that any changes to what I have presented previously. And this might go back at least a couple weeks or so. So I'm not going to go through all of the details because, as you can see there on your screen, I sort of went through this topic already and kind of discussed it on my live. Now, if you're new, I try to do a live at least once a week. I might do one later on today on a Thursday. I would normally do them on Wednesday. And I try to drop some sort of current event news item for about 10 or 20 minutes about something going on in the news, as I was saying. And this happened to be one of them. And I like to do the update. So that's kind of like the format on the Last Call channel, just so that you know. And if that sounds like your kind of thing, do me a favor and hit up that subscribe so you get more of this stuff going on, and really appreciate for anybody doing that and showing up and being here and following me along too. Now, without boring you to go through all the details, again, if you didn't get it, go back and flip in my Robert Brooks situation 1. So this is just a little follow-up to that. As you could sort of see there, and let me just see if I could pick a couple details. This person that you would see on the gurney there, hands behind his back and several officers around, those were officers now being accused of basically beating him to death with his hands handcuffed behind his back. We don't know what kind of provocation, but we could tell, and we know that in the court of law and the judicial system does not permit this sort of treatment to individuals not fighting back and not causing a threat, and especially already detained and hands behind the back. In the video, you see several officers wailing on him. You see several officers restraining him, pulling him, pushing him around like a rag doll. To the point, and dare I say it, to the point that he is damn near lifeless in the video, right? And some specialists believe that there's actually a point in the video where they could tell where he's lost his life, and they're still, kind of wailing on him and treating him anyway as well. On top of more disturbing things in that video, there's an officer just fixated on his private parts, kicking him, stomping him, hitting him, again with his hands behind his back, and to his private parts doing that. This person, Brooks, had only been there for just about a day or under 24 hours, being transferred from another institution going there. They said where the cameras pick him up, he's already bloodied and whatnot, as though he's already been beaten previously before he's over there. Now, I have sympathy in this situation for anybody who's treated like a dog. And I don't really want to say regardless of crime, because there are some crimes to me that you've dug your own personal hell. But also, being a human being and a person of society, I do believe that justice did what it was supposed to do, put this man on trial for his crimes, which we kind of visit. I have a couple articles up here as well that I want to go through with you guys, and carried out the sentence. So the court did what it was supposed to do with this individual. And then you have a staff of at least 12 to 15 other individuals inflicting further pain and whatnot. So I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit to what's happening now. All right. And I'm going to use I got a couple sources here in the background that I'm kind of picking and choosing from. So excuse me while I read. You know what? I'm going to, as I say that, I I'm just going to go ahead and share this video with you guys because it's on something that I want to read. And it is disturbing that if anything that I just said didn't necessarily hit any of your senses, maybe viewing some of this will make you see what I was talking about, you know. So we see where that cake went. Again, his privates. They're stripping his clothes. Just crazy stuff that they're seeing here. And I'm going to give you the update in just 1 minute. That is Robert Brooks' son, Robert Brooks Jr. And I'll tell you what he has to do with well, I might as well start talking about it right now. So his son, Robert Brooks Jr., has decided to sue the system. All right. And there were some things being shown here. Maybe I missed it. I wanted you guys to actually see the footage. I'm not sure that I sat down to really see the whole thing. It's just that disturbing. Some of the stills were enough for me. So, a couple of the things here. Let me just see. All right. Yeah. So you can't help but see the craziness as even I'm talking here about it. See how they're dragging them in. They don't care, you know. So I'm going. You see, he's losing consciousness. I'm gonna have to pause it. So look, he's kicking him there, lower abdomen. Obviously, he's trying to protect himself. Look at that! Look at that cheap shot. How often do they do this? Sticking something in his mouth for what? Look at how they're doing that. That is hard to watch, and that's somebody you don't even know. You know, imagine how hard that is to be a relative of somebody in that situation, right? Okay, so yeah, I didn't want to make this super long. I just wanted to do the update, but you know, again, can't help. And there's a couple things that I want to read with you. So, let me find a couple things. So, the family of the inmate who died after being beaten by prison guards in upstate New York has filed a civil rights lawsuit. All right. And I just want to say, you know, protesting is good, getting your voice out is good, being civil is good because we're seeing in the last few years of, you know, I don't want to label these certain groups and give criticism right now, but Black Lives Matters, anything is good bringing attention to this sort of situation. But when we're left here years later, when we ask what has changed, you know, these are, you do a civil suit like some of the families have in the past for Michael Brown. A lot of these groups, people ask Black Lives Matter where the money is. A lot of these groups have settled with the state for large sums. So the money doesn't have to come from Black Lives Matter or anything, but that's another argument for some people. I'm not trying to stir the pot right now. I'm just, you know, kind of saying my 2 cents as I lead into this. But the real change comes in the change in policies and attacking things that will affect their budgets. When they look at the annual budget of where the money went and why people aren't getting raises and why changes aren't being made, they're going to have themselves to blame for the money they have to dole out for their unprofessional and animalistic behavior. All right. Body cameras for body camera video from December 9th, 2024 shows officers punching Brooks, 43, while he was handcuffed on a medical examination table at Marcy Correctional Facility, located east of Syracuse. Excuse me. His family is now suing More than a dozen guards, the former head of the facility, and the corrections official. They say the prison used excessive force in a system that tolerates violence. Now, that's very important that they use that kind of language. A system that tolerates violence is systemic. They allow it there. They allow probably inmates to go at it. They allow the people who are supposed to be keeping order become tyrants, and they're also all right. Brooks says he keeps reliving the same nightmare over and over. Junior Brooks, that is, in an interview moments before they filed the lawsuit. He described what he saw in the video of his father's beatings as torture and anger and overall hate. I see a helpless man, he says, and I see myself in him because I am his son. 15 officers, 2 nurses have been suspended without pay. One of those officers quit. Although it doesn't have the name of the officer here, I think I said their name in my probably in my live last week. New York Attorney General Letitia James appointed a special prosecutor to investigate. Governor Kathy Hochul ordered state officials to initiate proceedings to fire employees implicated in the attack. All right, so they're moving swiftly. And if not, if you could say the camera, a lot of these things, when we look back at some years and say what were the use of all these protests, this, that, the other, cameras. Cameras is the outcome of a lot of those protests and some policy changes. So when people try to vilify a lot of these Al Sharpton and Black Lives Matter, sure, things are mismanaged and whatnot. And I don't doubt that there were other entities involved with their hand in the pot. But overall, when you look at the stream, the outcome of a lot of these things that were initiated, you paved the way for people like Robert Brooks Jr. to be able to make people accountable for his father's murder. I believe, at least, and maybe you could think about that too. All right. See where I left off. That's where it is. I want them all to get prosecuted. It was a murder. There's no other word for it. They murdered my father. They robbed him from me. He doesn't get to come home. And like I think I was saying before, but I didn't finish. The court did what they were supposed to do. This man did a crime. He was charged for it. He was found guilty for it, and he got a sentence. I believe it was a 12-year sentence. I'm sorry. And he was just about halfway through that sentence anyway. So he had something to live for. You know, his life wasn't over. He had a chance to correct his past, his indiscretions, his crimes. He was doing his time to society, what was agreed upon in the courts, and he had a home date. There's no way that should have turned into a death sentence, but here we go. I hope you're man enough to admit what you did. Brooks' senior brother, his brother, Gerard Ricks, said in an interview. So that's his son. In one of the videos that I showed, his son and his brother as well doing this, right? Now, one of the subheadings here, it says, I want the name Robert L. Brooks to be known forever. I don't know about you. When you see things like a George Floyd Park and all of this stuff, now we're used to seeing statues and memoriams of people who standout people in society, not necessarily just the victims and whatnot. You know, I'd be willing to hear and interested to hear what people have to say about who we put up there, because it is true, these people do deserve to be recognized and remembered as well. But when you start fishing out more productive societies, I just don't know if it's a dangerous road to go down. But anyway, here's the rest of that. Just a little thought of that. This one is from what you saw CBS News, what I put on the screen earlier, and some of that video. I'm just reading some of that. There's some more bits and pieces from some other things that I want to take in just a minute. Again, didn't want to make this too long, but It's already over the 5 minutes that I wanted. All right. The lawsuit said the assault lasted about 10 minutes and described the video showing several large white enforcement officers torturing a bloodied black man who is restrained, helpless, struggling to remain consciousness. All right, we know this stuff, so I'm just skipping. I'm skipping as I normally do, I guess. They have the power to spark the change we need, he said. The lawsuit, which seeks unspecified damages, alleges the defendants at the prison used excessive force and were indifferent to Brooks' serious medical needs. It claims gross negligence and wrongful death. All right. I think that's enough from that one. I kind of want to switch it over. So this one's from the Democrat and Chronicle. Again, just a few notes that the other article didn't have. We know the situation. What happened to the father should not have happened to the son. Body camera footage was revealed. And again, we are lucky to have that footage out of everything. Who knows what kind of story would have been spun around. You slipped and fell, and that's why your father's not here kind of deal. How many times have they given you that story, in history? So let's go. Oh, I don't see the article. One of the articles that I wanted to read on here. Maybe this is it. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the actual legal complaint for you. Maybe you could read along. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Hopefully that just popped up on your screen over here. This is, I don't know, about 45 pages or so. But what's important on here, that a lot of the names are listed. There you see at the top. I don't know if I could get a full screen of this. Blah, 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 blah. Probably not without messing it up. So squint if you're doing this. Oh, what's this little? No. Okay. So United States District Court, Northern District of New York. Robert L. Brooks Jr. In this capacity, administrator of the estate of Robert L. Brooks Sr. He's the plaintiff. The defendants are listed as, and like I say, it's important to know the victim's name, but I think in this case, it's important to know the perpetrators, the animals that committed this act. And here some of them are. I'll say some and you'll see why. Anthony Farina, Matthew Gallagher, Nicholas Anzalone, David Kingsley, Nicholas Kiefer, Robert Kessler, Michael Fisher, Christopher Walrath, Michael Long, Shay Schaff, David Walters, Michael Mashaw, Glenn Tremblay, Kyle Dashna, Abedin Mahabdovic, Daniel Medbury, Daniel Martiscolo, or Michello, perhaps, and others as yet to be identified. A lot of those names, Brown, sound pretty Caucasoidic, Slavic, perhaps. Maybe a couple Italian names in there. And this squad had a special name also for doing this sort of acts, but I'm not going to put those allegations in there. I think they cover it by saying that this sort of behavior is tolerated in this capacity. Now, a couple main things that I want to point out without reading the whole 45 pages. I'll just point out some main points, and it's there online for you to check out. I don't know if I'm going to post that underneath the video or not. It's the internet. It's pretty easy to find there. It's the Brooks complaint draft or file. So you could see exactly what his real complaints are. So plaintiff, as you know, on the behalf of his father against those individuals that I just listed, deadly use of force, right? It explains what that is. Robert had nothing to do to justify the force, as we want to suspect, and also, as you know, we think we have enough proof that we could actually say that through the videos itself. Robert's killers were unaware that their own body-worn cameras were on. Somebody had corrected me on my last mail about that, or perhaps I just didn't articulate what I meant clearly, which is they had their cameras on, but even no worry about even if it's on standby or that it could capture anything. They just went free will and assaulted, Brooks. Um, but the understanding is that even they thought the cameras were off, but they were really on standby. When I thought maybe, they didn't take it off on time, or, they didn't conceal it. Not that they were just brazenly recording their act also. None of the defendants reported the attack, so nobody did their, due process, and quite frankly, treated him like a human being. First of all, in saying that hold on, I got to get this drink. Saying that, the beatings were excessive, or to, just do a medical check, man. They were in the damn room. Video footage showing Robert's fatal assaults reveals chilling scene, depicts larger. Okay, we said that. Almost as disturbing as the video's depiction of the violence perpetrated on Robert by at least 6 defendants is the demeanor of at least the 9 other defendants that stood by watching. All right. And guilty by association, but not intervening. When it's your job, it's not a gang initiation. Jump in, for Christ's sake, right? Number 7, and again, this is number 7. This is page 3. We're not doing all 45 pages, but it is there. This one's important. The video is frightening and very difficult to watch, but it reflects the dark and dangerous reality the individuals incarcerated at Marcy face on a regular basis. It reveals precisely what Marcy staff do to those incarcerated in the prison when they believe no one is watching. That's a big one, people. It evidences the rampant abuse that New York prisoners, as well as the Correctional Association of New York, which is referred to there as CANY, have reported and warned about for years. Now, this is where in my opinion, the lawsuit, this is the tipping point for implicating others, the whole system, and also proving systematic injustice. As CANY recognized, Mr. Brooks' death cast a harsh light on the grim realities of life within our state prisons, realities that have been documented by CANY for decades, far too long. CANY's warnings that the lives of people in the New York Department of Corrections, I don't know what the last C is, are profoundly at risk. And those individuals' pleas for help and protection have been met with profound silence. So I know I jumbled that up a little bit and I apologize. But the main takeaways are, in this case, not just for Robert Jr. here, but this is a big deal because they're saying the oversight committee, as we see down here, CANY is the state of New York's legal designee for providing independent oversight and monitoring of New York's prison. So these guys are supposed to be the watchdogs that this sort of thing doesn't happen. And they're saying they receive these complaints for decades, but yet the environment of, let's see if I could take their words from it, dangerous reality, rampant abuses, that those things have not changed. So those things stated for these committees are showing these items led up to Robert Brooks' death as well. So these guys are going to have to pay. And as I was kind of saying before, this is the way to hit the system, going through the civil suit, going case by case, and hitting these guys in their budget because they don't want to be sued all the time for everything they're doing. They need to come to a realization that, hey, if we don't change this, with unfortunately, I use the word business, but they're going to take us right out of business. We're going to have to change something, or all of us are going to be out of jobs. This department is going to be out of a job. Somebody else is going to have to take over the watchdog. Somebody's going to have to take over the facility because the way that we're running it is losing the state money. At number 8, after reviewing the Roberts killing, state leaders. So what they're going to try to do here, the next few points are the people that weighed in, thus whether directly or indirectly implicating their colleagues, the departments they work for, and thus the state as well. All right. Again, I don't want to go through all of this. You can see, obviously, they have a pretty damn good case on their hands.